next hour. Of course, you heard that. That was a big party, a big party. The star of the party, Milo.
Book party.
Yes, a book party. The new book is out. It is titled Dangerous. You can get it at Amazon.com. And you get it at BarnesandNoble.com too, Milo? Or?
Well, you can get it online, but
Right.
I'm not sure they have it in stores.
Not
I
in
think
stores.
I'm too unpalatable for the
Right.
for the feminist booksellers. I've heard from people. They go into Barnes and Noble and they're like, "Could you order Milo's new book for me?" It's like, no,
They say no.
we won't order any book with hate speech in it. And then the people are like,
They
okay,
actually
fine,
say no.
don't take my money. Then.
Right, right, because you're going to sell millions of these books. I mean, I will tell you that Bernard, for days, I'm not just saying it because you're in studio, and I love Bernard, but for days, he's been talking up this book. He thinks it's fantastic.
But
You're right, it is.
It is fantastic. It's fabulous, as Milo himself is. But it's a very cerebral, very scholarly. In addition
You
to being
sound
funny.
surprised.
No,
I'm not sure this is a compliment after all.
Well, no, it is, and I'll tell you what.
You sound surprised I can string a sentence together.
I read your stuff on Breitbart. I already knew that you were very smart, but a lot of people think you're some wacky troll who just tries to get people's goat
I
out
don't
there.
know how they could have got that impression.
How could a gay guy be this bright?
Look,
that's what they're thinking.
Socrates.
Is it? How could a homosexual be this intelligent
Right.
and smart and right on the issues?
But he can tell you why.
I was to say
Socrates?
Socrates and Aristotle, all those guys.
Plato?
I mean, they broke the mold in that sense, right? They were all gay guys, and they were brilliant.
I don't know about that.
Listen,
it's just like this, that you occasionally you'll see in the New York Times magazine, someone's trying to claim Shakespeare for Catholicism or Socrates for the homos. I don't know about that. I mean, as any Greek person will tell you, the only way you can separate the men from the boys in Greece was with a crowbar. But, but no, I know. No, I mean, like people say, I want to go back to the 50s. I do. 450 BC, Sparta.
but listen, you write in the book about things like the feminine wage gap, canard, the lamenting fatherless kids, all
I wish
that
I
stuff.
had said the canard. That's a wonderful expression. I think I say mythology, but canard is so much a better word. I'll have to put that in the second printing.
And how feminists are at odds with transgenders. A lot of people aren't hip to all this stuff. I mean, you outline it very brilliantly, and you make it funny. You're going to have popcorn and watch that fight, for example, feminists versus transgender.
Oh, isn't it great? It's like trannies v drag queens. It's just like, bring it on.
Because a transgender, it sort of disputes the notion that you're born this way. I mean, the feminist notion says that you're not born that way.
Right. Well, feminists can't. Well, I was going to say they can't have their cake and eat it, but that's of course half. That's of course half of the problem. They do exactly that over and over and over again, wandering through life with a slice of Cheesecake Factory in one hand and an ice cream scoop in the other, and they wonder why they're alone. No, but feminists can't have their cake and eat it. Oh God, how'd it go? I'm so glad that didn't tumble out my mouth. No. To be serious for a second.
Yes.
Feminists say that gender is socially constructed, and what they mean by that is people aren't born a man or a woman, you learn how to be one. And you're taught by society, by unhelpful stereotypes, all this kind of stuff.
That's what they believe?
Dolls.
Yeah, and they say that gender is all a social construct. So you can learn to be a girl just like you can learn to be a boy. And they kind of deny many of the biological bases for behavior and sexuality and all the rest of it. Now, the truth is, as the truth always is, messy and complicated, and some of both, Okay. Some things that happen to people in life are a result of genetic predisposition, epigenetics, all the rest of it, and some things are nurture.
Right.
And that goes for the way that you behave, how you look, how you dress, who you like to have sex with, all kinds of things, right? Now, but the problem is, if you're a feminist and you deny all biological bases for behavior, for psychology, for sexuality, for gender identity, you can't say that, and at the same time, say some people are born with a male brain and a female body.
You can't do both.
You can't have it both ways.
Exactly.
You can't have it both ways. So this is a great point of contention.
But how would they explain a good-looking woman, or in your case, a good-looking guy, seriously, walking by a guy, and in 1 second, without any real thought, that guy gets an erection? How do you explain that? That's built in. That's built in, Milo.
Well, anatomy and biology are things that have basically been cast out of the feminist church. They don't really admit, or they're not really interested in any of the things that science tells us about the way that men's and brains and bodies are different and work differently.
Right.
What they instead choose to focus on is how socialization and stereotypes create male and female identities and how that hurts everybody because God knows. So what's funny for me as a media critic and a free speech fundamentalist is knowing enough about these debates to know that everybody's wrong, but also just laughing at the hypocrisies and inconsistencies. And a lot of what this book is about is just saying, these people are not entirely right, and these people are not entirely right. Let them have at it because it's really fun. And why don't we, and let's have more of this and more debates, more open, free expression of ideas, more of the, open marketplace.
Which you really, to emphasize what you're saying, proved that medal with me and Bernard not that long ago, when in fact you said, despite our hateful speech, let Linda Sarsour speak. Let us speak.
Of course. And, many of the speakers who were at the event protesting her commencement at CUNY wanted her to be banned. And I said at the end, and I hope it didn't upset or offend any of the previous speakers, I said at the end, I have to disagree with all of you. Yeah. I want her to speak. I want everyone to speak. More speech is always the answer. Right. It's always the right way. Because I want everyone to see how awful she is. And guess what happened shortly afterwards? She was caught on tape last week calling for a jihad against President Trump. I mean, it just, the universe has a way of proving my point for me. I think God really loves me despite everything. Every time I go out on a limb and make a prediction, like within 2 weeks, I'm like,
it comes to fruition. The guest
I know. I think he has my back.
Milo Yiannopoulos. The book is dangerous. It's a fantastic. You'll learn a lot, and it's funny as well. Order it on Amazon or wherever, online somewhere.
You can get it from Amazon. We can't print them fast enough, but we're sending another 25,000 this week, so they should be back in stock in a day or two.
Self-published, by the way, by Milo Yiannopoulos, because Simon & Schuster backed out.
Not quite self-published, This is you've picked this up from the media, and this is what journalists say to try to belittle and demean you. They say, self-published. Like it's some on-demand piece of I can't say on the radio. I've spent $3 million setting up my own publishing imprint. I have editors, I have lawyers, professional distributions. I self-published. Give me, please, please.
Listen,
please.
What do you want from me? I'm trying to help you out here. Listen.
When have you heard that before? I was just trying to help. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So you have all these chapters. Why the progressive left hates me, the alt-right, Twitter, feminists hate you, and then at one point you have this this chapter about intersectionalism, which is I thought very interesting, about the hierarchy of aggrieved people. Fat black disabled woman versus a fat black disabled Muslim woman, and on and on.
I'm just trying to work out who's the most oppressed in American society.
I thought it was actually on the money and very funny at the same time. And
I aim to do both of those things, so I'm happy that I succeeded. I'm so glad you liked it, because I know that you are a harsh critic, and I know that you have high standards.
He reads a lot. He reads like everything.
You can tell when someone reads a lot of books. Yeah. Like when I look at you, I can tell somebody doesn't read a lot of books.
Exactly. I'm in the gym.
And that's fine, and that's why he's the smart one and you're the sexy one, and that's okay, That's okay.
So you have... You have straight.
So you can't see this if you're listening at home, but I'm on the side of the studio with the meathead,
But I'm going to read this book, just so you know, even though that is true.
Oh, well, so the first you've seen of it, isn't it? You see Bernard pre-ordered, devoured, ready to ask me detailed questions about the content. You just get it to tear it in half.
I wanted to get the personalized signed copy,
of course, that you didn't know was coming until this morning.
I had no idea.
Well, another part that sort of surprised a lot of us is how strongly anti-abortion that Milo Yiannopoulos is.
Which I don't like.
Birth control pills also, how they alter women and make them less likable, etc.
Well, somebody that leaves a trail of broken hearts like you, of course, has to be pro-choice, because otherwise all your entire salary would be going on child support. Are you trying
to be funny? Because,
sorry, does it already?
No, but I'm pro-choice, so you're right.
No, I mean, murder is murder.
Right.
It's fine. You can, so women are allowed to choose their gender identity and all the rest of it. You can't choose.
You're sure it's murder. You're sure it's because science has told you that the fetus and blah 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 and all that stuff. You're sure it's murder.
I just think it's bizarre that we let women call their 4-year-old boys girls, and do all kinds of terrible things to them, and at the same, and to the point, I try to be as best a Catholic as I can, and I am not a particularly good one, but it seems to me fairly incontrovertibly true that this thing is alive, that it is a soul and a person from really, really, really early, like almost right away. And nobody, by the way, believes in no abortions under any circumstances at all. And this goes right the way back, and I talk about this in the book, to St. Thomas Aquinas. Catholic theologians and religious people in general, there's this misconception that people think that that there are these abortion fundamentalists who believe that it should never be performed in any circumstances. I've never met somebody who holds that position. Right. I don't know anyone.
So rape, incest, you're okay with an abortion at that point?
I don't know about those, but for instance, there was a case in Ireland where a woman was carrying a baby that had no head. It was a birth defect,
Oh, God.
And she was forced to carry that baby to term. And I can't imagine anything more evil or wicked than forcing that woman to do that. Okay,
right.
So we can agree on that there are some fringe cases in which pretty much everybody is in concordance about, right? But but fringe cases make bad law. Is the first thing to say. So just getting people upset and emotional about these individual cases as a way of kind of persuading them into another position is dishonest in my view. And the other thing is nobody believes in this blanket rule. You go all the way back to Thomas Aquinas. You act in it's read the book because it's quite a complex argument.
It is.
But the point is that you can agree that it is in principle always wrong, whilst at the same time, sparing for the sake of mercy in particularly horrific circumstances.
Right.
I think it's a perfectly logically consistent position, right? And that might be, for instance, an argument, against it on moral terms, but for it in certain restricted legal circumstances.
Okay.
So, for instance, you can say abortion is always wrong, but if this happened to you, we're going to let you do it, right? So it's not that I don't want it to be against the law in all circumstances.
But this all stems from your religion, your Catholic.
No, I don't think it does.
No?
I mean, I think Catholicism is basically right about everything, but
you seem pretty rational about this, more than the religion would tell you. No good, no good, no good. You seem more rational.
But you say that, but that's not really true. I mean, like I say in the book, it goes back to Thomas Aquinas. I've never met a Catholic, in the clergy or otherwise, who says that that woman in Ireland should have been forced to bring the baby to term. Now, the fact that she was obviously indicates that there are some people in Ireland who do believe this,
right?
But I think they're wrong.
Okay.
Right. And you also, you once said that birth control makes women unattractive and crazy.
Fact.
Hillary Clinton commented on it, which you wore as a badge of honor.
Of course. Are you kidding me? Hillary Clinton stands up and she says, Breitbart.com. You believe the following headlines, and I'm not making this up. Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy, and the crowd kind of doesn't know whether to laugh or not. And then afterwards, this was in her speech about the alt-right and Breitbart, whatever. Then afterwards, she reads another of my headlines, and she's like, would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? And the whole crowd's just like, I give up, I'm laughing, it's hilarious. And so her own crowd were laughing because they are so funny. Right. Oh, it was great. I mean,
when you say fact, what do you mean by fact? Fact that it makes them crazy and less attractive?
Well, all the studies. I mean, cellulite didn't exist before the invention of the pill.
Right.
Women.
So if I see a girl on the street today with cellulite, odds are she's on the pill, or she's been on the pill.
Odds are, almost certainly. All the studies say women put on weight when they're on it. All the studies say, and you don't get, for instance, you don't get that bloom of attractiveness when it's a particular time in the month.
When you have that menstrual cycle, you don't have the women's. They look.
There's that sort of radiance that nature gives a woman when she's at her most fertile.
When they're pregnant, they get that same type of look.
It also makes you more incestuous. There's studies.
Is that right?
No, studies show that women who are on the pill are more attracted to men who look like them. And to the point of like finding people who look almost identical to them attractive. People who are not on the pill go for genetic variance, which is much better for evolution, which is much better for the species. We're hardwired to be attracted attracted to people with a high degree of genetic mixing, which is why that ribbon around the middle of the world, like Israel, Spain, Italy, South America, pretty much everyone finds them hot. Yes. Because they have a high degree of genetic mixing. Because there's like there's North Asian, there's North Europeans, there's Africans, everything's in there. Like Morocco, all that strip. Basically everyone thinks they're attractive.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And that's why, because they have a high degree of they've lots. It's basically we're hardwired to avoid incest and to mate with people outside of our own groups. To avoid defects and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right? But when women are on the pill, it messes up their brain, and the opposite happens. And there's so many studies. I mean, you can go and read the column on Breitbart. Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy, and it's just a list of studies. And nothing annoys people more than the truth. Nothing annoys people more than incontrovertible fact. And I like to present facts in a provocative and sometimes distressing way for people who who run their lives according to feelings instead of reality. But it is what it is, it's another example of the Catholic Church being right about everything.
Well, if I was younger and not married with 2 kids, I was dating a girl, I'd still tell her to take the pill. I'll deal with the unattractiveness and the 4 twins,
and that's okay. But she's going to be more miserable. It's fine, but she's going to be unhappier.
Listen, Milo Yiannopoulos is our guest. The book is dangerous. It is one hell of a provocative, funny, interesting, edifying read, I would say. And there are many things in it. Black Lives Matter, feminism is man-hating, etc. We're going to talk to Milo about that. We have to do some spots here. Milo's going to hang out with us, and we'll get into all that.
Can I read the ads one day?
Yes. Absolutely.
Next time I come in,
Yes.
when we planned it, Ed. Next time we come in, can I read some ads? Are you advertising Cialis? You really are?
No, not yet.
No.
You can do it. As a matter of fact, coming up, we have a couple of spots you could read. Milo's going to read that. Why Muslims hate Milo Yiannopoulos. And we'll talk about that festival in Sweden that they canceled because of all of the rapes and the sexual molestation. The
reason they gave for it is wonderful.
It's unbelievable. 1-800-848-9222. Bernie and Sid with Milo. The book is dangerous. We're coming right back.
Back here on the Bernie and Sid show. About 22 minutes to go before Curtis and Ebony take over at noon. That's why we're playing it.
I know. At any other radio show, it would be a heckle, but here you pick
it would be Right Said Fred.
Exactly.
Am I right?
And when I do Breitbart Radio, Alex Marlowe still heckles me. They'll have.
I know.
They'll have a Right Said Fred when I come
Not
on,
us.
and Boy George.
We did do that initially.
Initially, we did.
You did,
right.
you did. Right.
But now that we know you and love you, it's completely different.
Solely with my pleasure and
your happiness. That's all we care about.
Happiness.
That's right.
You always play Mariah Carey for me.
See that?
I'm very grateful.
And we don't like her, so we're doing that strictly for you because we love you.
And you always have to bring that up.
Yeah. Now, listen, the protester. We started the show by talking about this protester downstairs. He's still there.
Let's reset.
Yes.
Milo's here for his book.
Yes, Dangerous, which is out.
I'm glad one of us is paying attention, and one of us is here to sell some books because I was just here having a good time. I mean, you're what I do between breakfast and lunch,
Right. Hey, listen, you had a book party the other day, and you had yarmulke wearing midgets, jihadi strippers, and a performance by a troupe called Donna Trumplova and the Siberian Sex Circus.
See, when you say it like that, it sounds attention-seeking.
So good.
It sounded great.
God, it's so good.
And apparently they've been suspended from Instagram since your party, but you also had the crowd chanting FCNN, etc.
I didn't have the crowd chanting.
The
crowd chanted.
The crowd chanted.
You didn't start that chant. You didn't.
No, listen, you're just like Twitter. You see, I just say something and people run with it, and I get the blame.
Right. Where did you find these jihadi strippers? They were fantastic.
Oh, they were so good.
Yeah,
no, they were
them?
fantastic. We found them.
You didn't go to Raqqa, I know that.
No, the only people stripping in Raqqa are the small boys for the benefit of ISIS. If they're anything like their Afghan friends.
Right.
No, sadly. It's just funny. They're funny for such a homophobic religion. They sure do like ass.
Turkish prisons are notorious.
So we had a load of performers there from the Siberian Sex Circus, which is not as low rent as it sounds. They're actually very very polished, very professional entertainers, burlesque and kind of cabaret performers. So we had a few interesting things. We had the Ben Shapiro midgets. We had
nice, nice.
Yeah, no, it was
by the way, talking about current events and ass and all that, I did think of you last week. Do you know what's coming up this Saturday? What is this Saturday Milo commemorate? Milo, the book is dangerous. It's fantastic. What is this Saturday coming up?
I'm going to
20
fail.
years.
Tell me.
20 years ago this Saturday, Gianni Versace was murdered.
Oh, really?
Outside
in
of his
South
Miami
Beach?
home.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
there's a ton of reasons why I think about you. First of all, you've now relocated to Doral, not far from South Beach.
I have. That's true.
Secondly, Versace was gay. Thirdly, he was very a great-looking guy, dressed great, all the fashion. So there's a lot of things. And the guy that killed him, Andrew Cunanan, was gay too.
And Sid has had conjugal visits with that guy.
Yes, I do. Yes, I
in
do.
the past.
So your fingerprints are all over the story, basically.
I don't think they are actually. I don't see much in. I mean, what are you saying? You're looking forward to me getting shot by a disgruntled ex-lover?
No, but is this a story that remains very interesting inside the Milo community?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, it's a tragedy for the fashion world because the guy
It was.
the guy was
It was.
brilliant. But no, I mean it's just some guy was a lunatic and attached himself to rich older men and then got upset when they cast him aside when he got too old. I don't think it says very much.
Is that
about
what it was?
anything.
Is that he was angry because
Yeah, I think so. I
they
think
stopped
he
paying
kind of-
attention?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what happens.
He's a
is they-
good-looking kid, by the way, Cunanan.
Well, he was, and I think what happens is these sort of these men in their 20s or whatever come into the orbit of wealthy older gay men and then get expelled from the orbit, not unlike sort of the Playboy Mansion dynamic. I
Right,
think
right.
I don't think it's any different for
So
gay
what's the age basically where guys kind of age out? If you had to guess?
22?
Is that
No, I'm kidding. It's even worse for us than it is for women. I'm 32. I'm practically geriatric. I am. I've had to write books to stay relevant because I'm not thin anymore. You get to 25, 30 as a gay guy. You got to have a career or you're sunk.
Or a lifelong partner at that point, or you're screwed.
Yeah.
So
or
listen,
you're not screwed.
in the book Dangerous, Milo Yiannopoulos, you take some rim shots at again Ben Shapiro.
Rim shots. You see what he did there?
But you also this one guy Sean King, who the Daily News, the New York Daily News saw fit to hire for some reason as a writer.
You see, I
We
challenged
hate
them about
this
this.
guy.
I challenged them about. I was at a book party last year, and I met somebody, and somebody introduced. Oh, he's on the board of the New York Daily News, and I looked at him square in the face, and I said, "Sean King, justify it," and he said, "Traffic." Isn't that amazing? Somebody on the
That's
board
it.
of the New York Daily News said the only reason they have him is because he gets numbers. Just admitting that they don't care how many falsehoods he propagates, they don't care how hateful and dishonest he is, they don't care about the fact that he masqueraded as continues
as a black guy.
to masquerade as African American.
His Wikipedia site says his parents are both white.
They are. I broke that story, and so it's not me being like vindictive or mean or sadistic.
So he's not black? He's like Rachel Dolezal?
Yeah.
Really? He's not black at all?
The guy's got two white parents, and he invented a bunch of hate. Yeah, well, at least one. The Daily Caller found. I think it was Chuck Ross, the Daily Caller, who's a great reporter. I'm pretty sure it was him. Who found that Sean King has been going around saying he was the victim of the first hate crime in Kansas or something like that, and the police report just doesn't match any of his version of events. In fact, it has him as the aggressor, and there was only one person that he started a fight with and then lost the fight, and then he later in life characterized that as getting beaten up by Klan thugs. I mean, the guy's just a fantasist. The guy's completely off the hook. He's raised a race-baiting liar, raised a ton of money, and nobody knows where the money has gone. All the places he said the money was going to go to, I've never seen any sign of it. Just really grubby. You should read. I mean, I broke the story about him lying about his parentage, but in a way that is just a sort of symptom. It's an example of how messed up he is. The more disturbing thing for me is the Daily Caller's reporting, actually, which is about the money he raised that never reached its targets and stuff like that. Very distressing. And I walk up to the guy on the board. It just gives you a little insight, a little window into the priorities and morals of the media, particularly the left-wing media in this country.
Mort Zuckerman, who runs that, this should be ashamed of himself.
I walked
for
up to this
allowing
guy who's on the board of the New York Daily News, and I said, "Justify Sean King," and he said, "Numbers."
Right. And meanwhile,
isn't that appalling?
We have a dead cop who was just buried here in this city yesterday, and this guy is partially responsible for that. And
absolutely.
You also wrote in the book about how President Trump trolled his way to the presidency.
And I meant it as a compliment.
I know you did, and we all know that. And
I trolled my way into a beachfront mansion in Miami.
and coincidentally, he trolled CNN to death last week. They pretty much died last week.
They killed themselves, didn't they?
But listen, come on, that retweeting that
so funny.
The CNN
it's so
wrestling
funny
video.
because he knows they can't help but take the bait,
and they took it.
You know what the best thing about the whole week of hell? It's going to be a year of hell. It's going to be annus mirabilis. Oh god, my Latin's terrible. Annus miserabilis. Yes, annus miserabilis. For CNN is the best thing about it is and it's a tiny little thing, and you'll know about it because and some of your listeners will remember this from the last couple of weeks. There've been all kinds of terrible things that CNN has done, all kinds of embarrassments. But the one for me that's my favorite is on the 4th of July, they tweet this Abraham Lincoln quote as a way of getting at Trump, and it's something about facts, but they get it wrong. They misquoted Abraham Lincoln. They got the wording wrong because their primary objective is not news or fact or the objective or truth.
Or ratings, apparently.
It's having a go at Trump. I read something this morning. I don't know if it's true because I don't know what website it was on. I haven't checked it out. But I read something they slipped to like number 10 in the ratings or something.
They're trailing Nickelodeon sitcom repeats in prime time.
Cartoons, Nick at Night.
That's a fact.
Cartoons versus CNN. Well, it stands to reason. I mean, one of those shows is sort of repetitive plastic people yelling for children, and the other one is cartoons.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I can just put I can stitch these things together on the fly. This is the mark of real greatness. No, it doesn't surprise me. I always said this was going to happen because of course I'm right about everything and 6 months ahead of everybody else.
Sure.
And I always said that this was going to happen. I said there's going to be this initial burst of ratings because everyone's going to hear about the terrible things CNN is doing and go check it out and see, is this really as bad as everybody says it is? And when they see that yes, indeed, it is as bad as everyone says it is, then the ratings are going to evaporate. And I was involved. I won't bore you with the details with the controversy in video games. They had a very similar trajectory, where suddenly all these sites that were hating on ordinary gamers with all their feminist politics. They enjoyed a brief flurry of traffic, thinking that meant they were popular, but actually everyone was just going there to hate read them. And then afterwards, the traffic evaporated and the entire industry collapsed.
Right.
So, I think the same thing's going to happen to CNN. I mean, Jeff Zucker is saying, we're on course for $1 billion in profits this year. Well, enjoy them because they're not coming next year, and they're definitely not coming in 10 years' time.
They're drying up. And speaking of which, President Trump gave the speech in Warsaw about civilization.
Isn't it nice being able to say that, President Trump?
Yes, I'm
still not over it.
I know. I agree with you. It's still novel to me.
Still leaves me just a little bit, I get a little quiver between the legs.
Sydney.
Like Chris Matthews.
Sounds like Chris Matthews.
Keep your hands above the console.
Chris Matthews has nothing left between the legs to quiver, but
So coincidentally, he gave that speech. The barbarians are at the gate. We have to don't take Western civilization.
Brilliant speech.
Right. Yes. And in Sweden, they have this music festival that they had to cancel because of the sexual molestations and the rapes that were occurring by Middle Eastern immigrants.
It was.
I mean, there's no coincidence there.
It was the Quakers.
Right.
No, well, they said that now there's a man-free festival in Sweden. And I posted about this on my Facebook. 2.3 million followers. You should check it out. I posted about this on my. I know. I love it. I go in the morning to see what's happening in the world. I posted about this, and I said, well, there is a group of people beginning with M that they should ban from music festivals, but it's not men.
Right.
Right. Middle Easterners, Muslims, take your pick.
Right, exactly.
It's so amazing. They will do anything to deny the reality of this horrible ideology from the Middle East. They will do anything to pretend that it's not happening, to the extent that they will import a bunch of these people from war-torn countries with no respect for women's rights or anything else, existential threats to gay people, and then when they start, as could have been predicted by anyone with half a brain, raping and murdering and stealing, they'll say, the problem is toxic masculinity. It's not their culture, it's the fact that they're men. I mean, honestly, if I wasn't so important to the future of this country, I'd kill myself.
Yeah. Well, listen, the book is great. The book is dangerous, and we recommend you go out and get it. Go to Amazon.com. A bunch of places on the internet. It's been, but before
your local
you leave,
bookstore, if you can hold them up at gunpoint and make them order it.
I'm going to go to Barnes and Noble on the Upper East Side and make sure they carry
your
book.
You should film it.
I swear I'm going to do that. I'm going to
film it because the people on the front is like, no, we won't carry hate speech.
I'm going to film it because I think that's ridiculous.
Do they still have a bookstore? I don't even see.
No, they don't. No, because because
partly for this reason.
Not yet, but we hope you will. But before you leave, we started our show today with a guy downstairs protesting the Bernie and Sid show because I have really dubbed the mayor of New York City an asshole, and he was very upset that I used that word.
I spoke to him about that.
Yeah, now you spoke to this. You went downstairs.
I did.
To talk to the protester.
I did.
And how did
that's kind of what I do for a living. I love it. I love it.
Right. This was perfect
you
for
two
you.
locked up here in your ivory towers. No. I mean, just defended by doors and security gates and elevators.
Right.
No, I went and go and
this is your thing, and you couldn't have it on a better day.
We sent Flirty down.
I went down there, and he uttered the immortal line, "Free speech has gone too far." And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, they like Trump, and they called de Blasio an asshole. I said, I'm out. I got nothing.
I videoed the whole thing. It's on our social media.
Where is it?
It's on Twitter. It's on Facebook.
At Bernie and Sid on the Bernie and Sid Facebook page. It's great.
I didn't go in ham, as they say. Because he's obviously not in complete and full possession of his faculties.
No.
If he were a properly functioning human being, he wouldn't be protesting you in the first place.
Right.
But no, he's obviously a little fragile. So I was gentle and loving with him, and rather than how I'd be with a student, for instance, who can look after themselves and is educated and boisterous.
Well, this guy you thought was a little crazy or drunk or both.
I think he's got some issues. I would imagine he's probably got 50 to 60 dead cats, littered around his apartment. He probably hasn't. Like occasionally you see those news stories. They're like, so there's a house in Wisconsin or something.
90 cats.
There's dogs in black plastic bags out the back. And the neighbors call it in because of the smell.
That's this guy.
I think so. I hate to be cruel, as you know, but I don't think your show's going to be cancelled anytime soon. If that's the extent of the protest you're getting, although I would like to say, if that's the extent of the protest you're getting, you should be pushing the envelope a bit harder because you're obviously not upsetting enough people. If I had a radio show nobody will give me a radio show ever, but if I had a radio show like this and I had one lonely loon downstairs,
it's a losing game for you.
No, my goodness, you kidding me? I'll be off the air in a week.
Hey, Milo,
you got to raise your game.
You are great. You're fantastic. You're brilliant. You're funny.
So good.
You're on point. You have a lot of advice for young the conservatives out there. Stay humble. Be twice as funny as you are outrageous, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you for the compliments. They're all true.
The book is fantastic. It's called Dangerous.
Thank you so much. And
it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Who was fantastic.
Go online.
We love you, Milo.
As always.
Thank you.
And
both so much.
you two guys, no tongue as he leaves, all right? Curtis and Ebony are up next.
Great
on the Bernie and Sid Show. Thank you, Milo.
Thank you, guys.